Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the very first day of the Healthy Schools Revolution. It's an honor and a pleasure to have all of you listening in today to learn how you can make your child's school healthier, really stepping up to have your voice be heard. And it is with tremendous pleasure and honor that I get to introduce to you Dr. David Katz as our lead expert for the event. For those of you who need a background on Dr. Katz, you may not know all the wonderful things that he has done, but he is the founder of Yale Prevention Research Center. Dr. Katz is still, I believe, the editor-in-chief of the journal Childhood Obesity. Is that correct, Dr. Katz?
Yep.
He is a lifelong advocate. He and his wife both have spent countless hours, days, years compiling programs for children, testing them, making sure they're effective as far as kids eating healthier foods, kids getting more exercise. And this is Dr. Katz's mantra, that there are just certain things that we can do on a daily basis that will enormously impact the changing of our lives. So Dr. Katz, thanks for your tireless work and effort, and thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, Carmen. Thank you.
So, you know, the big question is, if you're the editor-in-chief of Childhood Obesity, tell us what's going on right now as far as the trend. How are we doing as a country right now?
Personally, I don't think we're doing very well, and you know, I can get to the epidemiology. What are the trends in the population in a second, but you know, I think a good place to start, Carmen, is we're talking about childhood obesity because it's an important problem. So, you know, whether it's rising, leveling off, falling, it's an important problem, and yet we routinely market the junkiest food we can design to our children, right? I mean, we're all okay with the idea that we actually peddle to children multicolored marshmallows and call it part of a complete breakfast, right? We all sort of have a nudge, nudge, wink, wink attitude about junk food, but food is the construction material, the only construction material for the growing bodies of our sons and daughters, for these little people, these little vulnerable people whose fate is in our hands, these people we love. So there's something fundamentally wrong with our culture. You know, we just don't revere health the way we should. We don't think about the long term, that the single greatest gift we could give children, our own children, children in schools, is the high probability of a long, vital life. We're neglecting that every day in our culture. Junk food is routine in the diets of children. Marketing aggressively the junkiest foods anybody can cook up is routine in our culture. So we're not doing well before you even look at the epidemiology, just because our attitude is wrong. You know, we're not getting our priorities right. In terms of the trends, we've actually long known that overall childhood obesity rates may have been leveling off, at least in some places where the most is being done. But at the very same time, we also knew that rates of severe obesity in children were rising steeply. The latest evidence we have says, well, maybe the rates of overweight are not leveling off, because what we're seeing, apparently in both adults and children, is an increase in waist circumference. That's weight around the middle. That's the most dangerous kind. That's still going up. We had a recent report indicating that just over the last several years, rates of type 2 diabetes in children and adolescents had gone up about 35%, so a very steep rise. So some hints of good news in the places that are doing the most to address this problem, some stabilization. But frankly, I've seen more bad news than good, and you know, we tend to exaggerate whatever news we get. So when the news is good, we think it's time for champagne and confetti. It's not. You know, when the news is bad, we think, oh, woe is me, the sky is falling. It's not. This is a totally fixable problem. So the trends are overall very worrisome still. Clearly rising rates of severe obesity, clearly rising rates of type 2 diabetes in children and adolescents, clearly rising rates of the kind of obesity that's most harmful. Why is that? Why are we getting more weight around the middle? Well, probably because our diets have shifted ever more toward added sugar, in particular high fructose corn syrup, but it doesn't matter much, just added sugar, refined starches, and those specifically trigger insulin release and favor the deposition of fat around the middle that does the most harm. So basically those are the trends. So as editor-in-chief of Childhood Obesity, I look out and I see ominous trends still, occasional hints of good news that if we do the right things we get results, thank goodness for that. But the biggest thing I see, frankly, is cultural hypocrisy, where we do things like this, we talk about how important this is, but our prevailing practices exploit children for profit. And we all turn a blind eye to the aggressive marketing of junk food to kids. And we don't make enough of a fuss when kids go through entire school days and get no physical activity. These kinds of things need to change. And frankly, culture is us. We own it. And you know, part of why I love speaking with you, Carmen, is the idea that just imagine if loving parents and grandparents were a special interest group. Doesn't matter what your politics are, your religion is, what your hair color is, doesn't matter. We're bound together. We're all human, and we love our children. That's it. That's our special interest. Well, let's come together, folks. Let us be, you know, lovingparentsandgrandparents.org, and let us say we will stop at nothing to create a culture that nurtures the health of our sons and daughters, our grandsons and granddaughters, because we love them. And giving them the highest probability of a long, healthy life is the greatest gift any of us could bequeath, and we will let nothing get in the way. I pity the fool that gets between a loving parent or grandparent and the well-being of a child. Let's be those people. So that's the mission, and I know we share it. So it's, you know, it's a pleasure to talk with you and try to get the word out that we could make that happen.
Well, and I think that is one of the premises of this entire summit, is to have the voice. Everybody is so busy running to and fro that they really can't, parents can't, they're not making the effort to take on something as big as this because it seems ominous. But when one voice speaks and another voice comes next to it, we can all together band together and make a sound that makes waves and makes change. But
just like Horton Hears a Who, you know, Horton Hears a Who, right? I mean, you know, that's the thing. I mean, right? Every one of us has a small voice, but if we say we are here, we will be heard, and our culture has to change. If all of us add our voice to that chorus, it's done. Everybody will hear us. Everybody will listen. Absolutely.
So the one compelling thing that I keep thinking, I think I read this in one of your articles about a year or two ago, but you made a statement about our children are the first generation to have a life expectancy shorter than their parents.
Yeah, so this actually traces back to a study by a group of colleagues. Jay Olshansky was actually the lead author, looking at life expectancy as a result of rising rates of chronic disease. And in that paper, the projection was made that our children might be the first generation with a predicted life expectancy that's reduced. You know, throughout human history, we've been increasing life expectancy. And if kids are getting severe obesity before they're 10, and they're getting type 2 diabetes by the time they're 12, and that's pretty ominous stuff. You know, and that's the trend we're seeing. Serious chronic diseases that were bad enough a generation ago or more when they happened at midlife and after are now happening in children. And that does portend a shortened life expectancy. To be honest, nobody knows if that's going to come true, Carmen, because one of the things that we, physicians and modern medicine, are very good at is forestalling death, right? I mean, we've got an awful lot of technology to play with. So we've got high-powered drugs. We've got all the machines that go beep in hospitals. I mean, we try really hard not to let people die. But here's the thing about that. So maybe life expectancy won't come down because, you know, our kids will have multiple chronic diseases and be taking 17 medications and have 12 surgeries, and they won't die younger than we do. But they won't really be living either. See, that's the thing. Not dying isn't the same as living. So honestly, this prediction may or may not be true. And yes, I've talked about it over the years. And yes, it's in the medical literature. We don't really know yet, because the question is, will technology and pharmacology keep pace with the rising burden of chronic disease? But honestly, I don't care, because it's not just about years in life, it's about life in years. And what we know with absolute certainty is the rates of chronic disease are rising. The onset of chronic disease is at ever younger age, and whether or not our sons and daughters wind up with fewer years in their lives, they are going to have less life years unless we turn this tide.
Oh, and I think any parent listening right now would be the same. I just got goosebumps all over my arms thinking about the quality of life for my two boys. I mean, it hits us at the heart level. It's like when you think about, if you look and consider your child, you have 5 children. I have 2 boys, and when I think that if I'm not doing everything in my power to give them the best advantages of everything, and in part that is giving them the right food, the right building blocks to build healthy bodies, then I'm not being the best parent that I can be. because I'm not
Absolutely.
watching out for my children.
Yeah, no, I wrote a column, I think it was for U.S. News and World Report sometime back, which I called "Update the Love," because as a parent, giving candy or treats or whether it's for your children or other people, a big feast. Oh, come on, have another slice of cake. I mean, that's generous. It's lavish. It is a way to show love. But on the other hand, if the way we're showing love is speeding people to the coronary care unit, it's time to update the love. And I totally agree. I have 5 children. This is not about public health for me. And it's partly about that. It's what I do professionally. But yes, it's intimate. It's up close and personal. I have skin in the game, the skin of the people I love most on the planet. And frankly, the love I show them, I want it to make a positive difference in their life. I want it to increase years in life, life in years, not take them away. And if the way we're showing love doesn't lead to that prize, vitality, a long, healthy life, well, then we need to update the love, frankly. And that's where the programs we develop at the Prevention Center, at Turn the Tide, all the different things I do, that's what it's about, to empower people to live a life that they're enjoying, love food that loves them back, love activity that loves them back, but to show love in a way that actually maximizes the probability of more years in life, more life in years. It doesn't erode that. And for far too long now, the tendency in our culture, is to do things that routinely increase the likelihood of serious chronic disease, decrease the likelihood of a long, vital life. And each of us can start to fix that under our own roof, and then when enough of us are doing that, it's culture change. And culture change can start right here.
And I think that your approach and my approach in dealing with the children are really the button pushers in our society. Parents are too strapped and too stressed, but the children, when they want things, they can get their parents to do just about anything that they want. And so if we, as educators of these children, can influence them on the activity levels, on their choices in food, then they are in turn going home and getting their parents to provide them with better things. So I think it's a 1-2 punch, but I think we really have a great approach with harnessing the power of our children because they are so powerful. And parents will capitulate. If you say, I want broccoli, what parent's going to say no?
Right.
Right?
Well, actually, and I can add data to that, Carmen. And, it's interesting. There are really 2 reasons to focus on children. One is it's our job. They are vulnerable. We're supposed to take care of them. But the other is the reason you mentioned. They're powerful agents of change. So it's not just what we do for children, but what we do with children, because they can be the ones who save us. And the data we have pertain to a couple of our school programs. Nutrition Detectives is a food label literacy program, teaches 3rd, 4th, 5th graders how to identify and why to choose more nutritious foods. Well, we published a paper some years back in the Journal of School Health. It was a study in, I think it was 1,000 kids in school. 500 got Nutrition Detectives, 500 didn't.
Okay.
And we saw a significant improvement in the food label literacy of the kids we trained. And by the way, this program is a free DVD available in English and Spanish. Takes only 90 minutes out of an entire school year. And despite that streamlined approach, a significant improvement in the kids' ability to identify and choose more nutritious food. That sounds pretty good. We published those data. All lovely, very nice. And this program, by the way, is in thousands of schools all around the world. But it should be in many more. But here's the beautiful thing, to speak to your point. We didn't talk to the parents at all. We taught the kids to be food label literate. We measured food label literacy in the parents before and after. In the group that got Nutrition Detectives, the parents of the kids who got the program. We didn't talk to them at all. We just infected their children with knowledge and sent the little vectors home. The parents of those kids had a significant improvement in their food label literacy. Kids taught their parents, exactly as you say. And so we have data to back it up. We have similar data from our use of NuVal, which is a nutritional guidance system in supermarkets. When the kids learn about NuVal, 1 to 100, the higher the number, the more nutritious the food. When the kids learn about NuVal in school, they tug on mom or dad's elbow in the supermarket and say, we learned about those scores, use them, trust them. And then the parents start using the program, which up until then was in the supermarket, but they were overlooking it because they didn't really know what it was. And with our physical activity program, ABC for Fitness, where we introduce bursts of physical activity throughout the school day, kids get used to intermittent physical activity and they carry that home with them as well. So we have published papers on all of these topics, and I completely agree, it's really exciting. Yes, we should look out for our children, but if we work in schools to empower kids with healthy behaviors, they can be transformative agents for the whole family.
I think so. So now that's a great segue into telling us about your program. Now, there is a link attached at the bottom of your video. When everybody got the email today, if you go back, there's a link to take you to Dr. Katz's website to find both Nutrition Detectives and ABC Fitness, ABC Program for Fitness. And then you also have something for adults as well. So make sure you follow the links back to get these free resources. As Dr. Katz said, most of it is in English and Spanish. There are transcripts, there are PowerPoints, correct, there are things for teachers to use. And so can you give us, I've never seen Activity Burst in the classroom actually used. My children's school did not use it. So I would love to know how you actually got this to work in a classroom setting.
Sure, and again, like most of our programs, what we've done, we begin with research to prove that the idea really works, and once we've proven it, I have a nonprofit foundation, Turn the Tide. It's a 501c3 nonprofit, and what we do there is, we use donations to turn programs that work into something that's easily passed along for free. We remove barriers. So, in brief, ABC for Fitness stands for Activity Burst in the Classroom, and the idea was schools may not have time these days for an hour of phys ed or recess, but no kid can sit still and pay attention for 6 hours straight anyway. So, the question is, do you periodically throughout the day say, sit still, keep your hands to yourself, stop throwing things, don't pull her hair, don't even think about it, wake up, pay attention, just waste that time? Or do you do something productive instead? We turned that downtime into uptime. We got together with experts in pedagogy. We got together with experts in physical education, and we created a comprehensive array of brief structured activity bursts. They can be 2 minutes in length, 3 minutes in length, 5 minutes in length. And the idea is any teacher at their discretion can dole these out throughout the day when the kids are unteachable anyway. Turn the downtime into uptime. With the experts in teaching, we match the activity burst to grade level and subject matter because you can actually teach during the activity burst. And Carmen, as I'm sure you know, we actually have evidence from things like Brain Gym and other works of that sort that kids learn better and retain better when they are in motion, and in particular if they cross the midline of their body with physical activity, that helps to activate both cerebral hemispheres and learning is enhanced. So the program increases teaching time, provides for 30 minutes of physical activity in the classroom every day, whether or not there's phys ed in recess. And then the is, well, can you, and it's freely available, no special, you don't need space, you don't need experts, you don't need resource, you just do these activity bursts, they're calisthenics and dance-like moves right there in the classroom next to the desk, and actually in our teacher's manual we show, okay, here are all the different ways the desks in your classroom might be laid out, and here's how you make this work no matter what your classroom looks like. So we really wanted to make it user-friendly. We got a lot of input from teachers. And then we studied it. We did a study in 1,200 kids, and we found that putting ABC for Fitness into the school versus business as usual was associated with improvement in key measures of fitness, stable performance on all standardized tests, much improved behavior, fewer kids got in trouble, fewer disruptions in the classroom, significant reduction in medication use overall, significant reduction in medication use for asthma specifically. That was nice, but we weren't really expecting it. Yeah. And a 33% reduction in medication use for ADHD, because the proper remedy for rambunctiousness in children is recess, damn it, not Ritalin. And, again, I've got 5 kids, 4 daughters and a son. When my son was a little guy, he bounced off walls, but he was perfectly healthy. He was just a rambunctious little boy. And actually, he was the inspiration for ABC for Fitness. Because, you let him run around intermittently, he was absolutely a gem. You tried to keep him bottled up for any length of time, I mean, you'd have to either medicate him or yourself because, he'd just drive you batty. But he was a perfectly healthy little guy, and there are kids like him in every classroom in the country. So this is Activity Bursts in the Classroom, ABC for Fitness. We have a corresponding free program for adults, ABE for Fitness, Activity Bursts Everywhere, and that's a library of online videos that guide adults through activity bursts that you can do in your living room, in a waiting room, in your car, frankly, or on a plane, or in the office, importantly. So, on those days you can't go for a walk or get to the gym, you could do 6 5-minute activity bursts throughout the day and at least have that baseline level of physical activity. And we actually have some of these activity bursts to be done seated at a desk because they're isometric routines. So you can actually work out your muscles, never even have to get up if you don't have the space or the opportunity to do that, to break a sweat. But it's enough to give you sort of that foundational level of activity. So that's kind of our approach to everything in the big challenge of public health, Carmen, is to design streamlined, targeted solutions, kind of like sandbags in a levee. And that's the metaphor we use. So if the problem is a flood of things that make us fat and sick, the solution's a levee. And if you try to envision, for any one of us, getting the whole solution all at once, it's kind of overwhelming. But if you think, we're threatened by rising floodwaters, my job is to stack a sandbag, well, that's manageable. As long as everybody else is stacking sandbags too, and nobody is expecting me to be the whole solution,
Right.
then what it comes down to is I'm either part of the solution or I'm part of the problem. I want to be part of the solution. So ABC for fitness is a sandbag in the levee. Nutrition Detectives is a sandbag in the levee. ABE for fitness is a sandbag in the levee. NuVal is a sandbag in the levee. Expectancy, my wife's new recipe site, free Katz family recipes for all, sandbag in the levee. And the thing is, before you know it, there are enough sandbags stacked around your family that the ground at your feet is dry. All of a sudden, the world is a safer place. So we can get there, one step at a time, and we keep manufacturing these kinds of programs and doing everything we can to make them available for free to everybody. Nutrition Detectives, again, it's a free DVD. That program is active in every state in the U.S., Canada, Mexico, Spain, the U.K., Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, the Philippines, India, and Russia, and maybe other places, but we know about all of those. ABC for Fitness is at least in Canada, the U.S., and I think we've heard about some use of it in Europe. It's in thousands of schools. So these programs are reaching millions of kids, but they're also failing to reach millions of kids. And by the way, these are not the only options. These are the sandbags that I've helped to produce. I have many of my colleagues and you as well. You are a fellow sandbagger, Carmen. So anybody that's developing programs that are good, that work for you, get your hands on those, put them in your levee, and then look for the next one, and then look for the next. And as I say, no one of us will fix a big problem by ourselves or in one day, but every day, every one of us can be part of the comprehensive solution.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for the hard work. I mean, all this stuff is free, and I hope everybody understands how generous this is. You're making education completely available to the masses. And so I hope everyone that's listening today will take advantage of what Dr. Katz and his team and his wife have put together. And I'm sitting here with my teacher hat on going, I hear about your program, Dr. Katz, but I'm wondering, how am I going to incorporate that in my classroom? I understand you have it laid out, but just from a practical application standpoint, can you sort of walk a teacher right now, pretend you're talking to a teacher, tell her how easy it is to implement your program in her classroom?
Well, again, there are a number of health promotion programs that involve comprehensive curricular overhaul. Planet Health, Catch, they're hard. They're great programs, but they're hard to do. Ours are designed to be the very opposite of that. It's just one streamlined introduction. So, for example, with Nutrition Detectives, it's a D in chapters. So in your health class or civics, wherever it fits in your curriculum,
okay,
however you want to match it to sort of your core curricular teaching requirements, you can basically put in a DVD, push play, show a 15-minute chapter, and then have a class discussion. And on the website where you've got the free DVD, you've got teacher materials. So here are the discussion points. Here's what you need to know, and contact information for my staff at the EL Prevention Research Center who are available to help answer questions, or if needed, put you in touch with teachers who've already run the program, because there's nothing like peer-to-peer discussion. Pretty much the same deal with ABC for Fitness. So a comprehensive manual of these activity bursts, details about how to implement them, teacher's guide, including if you wanted to do research with us, consent forms and notes home to parents, and everything's there.
Okay.
It's really simple to do, but if you feel, hey, this is new to us, can we talk to a school that's already done this? Then my staff can facilitate those conversations. But really quite easy. And with ABC for Fitness, the teacher can lead the activity bursts. You can invite up students to lead the activity bursts. You could put on a video or play music to lead the activity. There's all different ways to do it. All that's detailed in the manual. These are designed to be really easy, really user-friendly. And what we're working to do as we proceed is to automate everything. So again, originally Nutrition Detectives was a free PowerPoint and all the teacher materials. But that still meant the teacher had to deliver the goods, right? So we turned it into a DVD, so actually the teacher gets a break. You just push play. It's 15 minutes where you can maybe put your feet up,
Right.
and then you lead the discussion after. We're in the process of doing the same with ABC for Fitness, where we'd like to automate the activity bursts. But those things take money, so we need contributions to my nonprofit to fund that effort. And that's what we do. We try to make everything as easy as possible. For now, you lead the activity burst, you have students, but still lots of schools are doing it, and we facilitate those connections so you can talk to colleagues. Here's how we did it, here's what was hard, here's what was easy, here's what worked best. And then that rising tide can lift all boats.
And so I just envision myself, I have a classroom of third graders and I'm teaching a little math segment, and they've already been through reading and they've been through maybe 2 subjects, and I can see they're getting antsy. And so I just go, okay, I've already read some of these things. All right, everybody up from your chairs, push your seat in. We're going to do 15 jumping jacks or 30 jumping jacks. Is that the sort of activity that you have in the program?
The bursts are a little more sophisticated than that. So yes, jumping jacks and calisthenics are included, but there's actually a warm-up phase, some stretches.
Okay.
There's the calisthenic phase to get the heartbeat up, and then there's a cool-down phase which involves sort of centering and deep breathing, because when the kids sit down, you don't want them all worked up. You want them centered and focused. So, again, the bursts were designed by experts both in physical education and in pedagogy. So, what are the principles of getting good learners? So you want them animated but controlled. And so we actually designed the burst, and we actually have instructions in the teacher's manual, Carmen, so that if your classroom is really good kids, well behaved, you can shorten the cool down phase, lengthen the really active phase. If you've got a bunch of kids who are a little hard to control, you probably want to spend a little more of each burst on the centering and really get them settled in. So they're designed to do that. And what we've heard is, again, from thousands of classrooms running the program, works remarkably well. You would think you get the kids all worked up, and they don't sit down and pay attention. It's the opposite. You're actually helping vent and dissipate the restlessness, and they settle right back in, and then they lock in, and they pay more attention to you, and teaching is easier. And by the way, just to be clear, Carmen, and I love what you're doing and making this about health promotion in schools, but I recognize that teachers have plenty to do as it is. I mean, my job is health promotion, public health, all of that. But teaching is a comparably important vocation independently of health promotion, and it's unfair for us to think, hey, just add our job to your job and good luck with that. So part of what we focused on is if we're going to ask teachers and schools to be agents of health promotion, there has to be something in it for them other than just doing the right thing. Namely, it has to make the kids better learners. It has to make teaching less painful. The kids are easier to control and more attentive, and everybody ought to win. And that's why we've designed our programs with input from teachers all around the country. What are your concerns? What would make your day better? What would lighten your load rather than adding to your burden? These programs are designed with all of that in mind. So, the activity bursts are very customizable. And, again, if you've got a classroom where 3 10-minute bursts throughout the day works beautifully, do that. If you need 10 3-minute bursts because you've got kids that need to vent more frequently throughout the day, you can do that. And the manual is designed to be very clear and explicit, but also very malleable, so the teacher can turn this to his or her advantage and actually use those activity bursts to create an environment of better learning. And we feel that's our obligation. Yes, it's great to promote health in schools, but the primary mission of schools is teaching, and it ought to facilitate that mission as well.
And I think one other point that, if I'm a teacher listening to this, a lot of teachers are fearful of their jobs because their jobs hinge upon the test scores of their children. And if this is a program that can settle their children down, have them learn better, have them perform better on standardized test scores, it's some measure of job security for these teachers.
Well, and there's actually really good news there. I mean, we published results where standardized test scores were at least as good when we introduced ABC for Fitness. But the CDC has analyzed 50 school-based physical activity programs, so essentially all the good school-based physical activity programs they could find. And in every case, when school-based physical activity is done well, standardized test scores either stay constant or go up. They never go down, never. And frankly, you know what? That's back to the future, because our grandparents used to say sound mind, sound body, and we just forgot. But they were absolutely right. They go together. It's energy. It's not competition. You do it right, reading, writing, arithmetic, and the right kind of new age recess are synergistic. Sound mind, sound body. It sounds familiar. It was good sense all along. We now have science to back it up.
That leads into the little pearl that you were going to share with us about. You have a new book that I understand is coming out in, I guess, in about 7 days, 5 or 6 days. Would you like
I
to
do.
share with everyone this newest accomplishment of yours?
Thank you, Carmen. Actually, two pearls. So, just one I mentioned in passing before is my wife's recipe site. And Cuisinicity, and Carmen, I know you'll link to the site.
We
A little
will.
hard to spell, but it's like cuisine and icity at the end, Cuisinicity. The tagline on the website is "Love the food that loves you back," and that's what my family has done all these years. Recipes that are delicious and convenient. My wife's a fabulous cook, and she tells her story on the Cuisinicity site. But really, this is Catherine's contribution to public health. Is just beautiful. She's been contributing to the health of our family all these years. Now we're paying it forward. So all of the Katz family tried and tested recipes, freely available to all on Cuisinicity. So that's one bit of news, and thank you for linking to that.
Yes.
And the second bit of news, we've been talking about all sorts of stuff that's free. This last one is not free, but it's not expensive either, and frankly, it's pretty good. And it's my book, Disease Proof. And what's hot off the press is September 30th is the paperback version. So the book's been a while, but we have a newly updated paperback version.
Okay.
And what the title refers to is that if you get a very short list of lifestyle practices right, eat well, physically active, don't smoke, a few others, the evidence is absolutely overwhelming. You literally can slash your lifetime risk of all chronic disease, heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, dementia, by 80%. So we can give that gift to ourselves, and we can pay it forward to our children. We bequeath to our children this dramatically increased probability of a long, vital life. There is no greater gift to give them. And so we know that it's absolutely true. But I think the question that isn't answered for most of us is, how do you get there from here? So in Disease Proof, I, as a preventive medicine specialist, as president of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, as a father of 5 and editor-in-chief of Childhood Obesity, say, here's what I do. Here are 300 pages of my skill set. These are the exact things I do every day to eat well no matter what, to fit physical activity. Here's what I do and how I do it. And what I call that is skill power, because we talk a lot about willpower. But my feeling is where there's a will, there may or may not be a way. I think some people will and just don't know the way, and the way is paved with skill power. Basically, if you want to be good at math, you have to study math. If you want to fly a plane, you have to learn the skills of a pilot. Most of the worthwhile things in life require learning specific skills and then applying them. Well, the same is true with being healthy. I have the skill set. I can share it. Disease Proof is my effort to do that. So it's pretty good, actually. And what it's about is empowerment. Here's the skill power. If you've got the willpower to be healthy and to share that with your family, I've got the skill set. If you ally skill power with willpower, nothing can stop you.
Well, I think that is a great thing for people to have, not only on their shelf, but by their bedside. I mean, when you go to bed at night, just read a chapter or two, right? And start. You have, obviously, you're very vibrant, you're very fit, but you have an extremely busy lifestyle. It's not like you just sit around with nothing to do. I mean, you've incorporated health and healthy eating into an insanely busy schedule, and if you can do it, then we who don't have as busy a schedule should be able to do it.
Absolutely, and again, none of that makes me a swell guy or a better person. Exactly right, Carmen. It's just I know what it feels like to try and be healthy in spite of it all, and the reason that I can is I've got know-how, I've got skill power, and again, I don't think pilots are necessarily better people than we are, but they do know how to fly planes. They've got a skill set. Everything is like that. So the thing is, you can let somebody else fly you to Detroit, but nobody else is going to fly you to health. So the way to get there from here is to acquire the skill set yourself, and that's what Disease Proof is all about. And you're absolutely right. I'm not just preaching this stuff. I practice everything in the book, and I've practiced it since I was a kid, And yeah, I mean, the net result is that, frankly, I can do all the things I love to do, ski and horseback ride and hike, and frankly, I can out hike and bike and ride, most people half my age. And it's, again, it's not because I'm a better person. It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with morality or anything. It's
No.
everything to do with skill power. I've got the stuff. I'm supposed to. It's my job. But everybody can get the stuff. You just have to come after it, acquire it, practice it, and then benefit from it. And the beauty about skills is, after you practice them for a while, you forget all about it. It's just part of who you are. It gets easy. But you make that initial commitment. And that, actually, to be fair about the book, Carmen, the one thing it will not do is sprinkle pixie dust on you. What most people in our culture sign up for when they want to get healthy is, tell me how to lose the most weight in the least amount. How do I lose, 37 pounds in 27 minutes? Or how do I get healthy, without doing much of anything? And my answer is, there is no way. Frankly, when you hear a promise like that, step away from your credit card and nobody will get hurt. I do not have any pixie dust to offer people, no magical promises. But I do have science, I do have sense, and I do have skill power. That formula is real. And so if you want the real deal and you want to protect your family and yourself from the chronic diseases that none of us want to get, you can do it. And you can do it no matter how hectic your schedule is, but you need skills. So come and get it.
And you know what, Dr. Katz, this will circle back to the very beginning of our conversation, and you said this last year, and I have clung to this idea and sort of really taken it to heart. But if we don't love ourselves, we really need to love ourselves first, and we need to look at our children and go, if, I have to love myself for my child to know how to, for him or her to love themselves, right? And your book is there, it's the tool, but people need to tap into their own reasons why they want to change, and then you've got the tools there to help them change. But I think the first step for everybody is, if you're listening, you hear about the mortality rates of our children, the increasing obesity, the less quality of life children are going to have, and you as a parent are setting an example. So if you want to love your children, you first have to love yourself and commit to being a healthier parent so that your child can model that. So, that's sort of my little soapbox that I'll get on, is we need to learn how to love ourselves so that our children can know how to love themselves, and things will be much easier. You'll be more inclined to stick with your program, stick with the tools Dr. Katz has in Disease Proof, if you have a compelling reason to do it, and your children are compelling reasons for you to take better care of yourself, period.
Amen, Carmen. Yeah, I think the whole story begins and ends with love. Love of ourselves, but love of the people in our lives. And in unity, there is strength. I think parents and children, teachers and children will get to health together, or probably not at all. We're all in this together. We've all got skin in the game. And principal motivation for doing this, it's not about being moral or doing the right thing or doing what you should do. Principal motivation is love. Motivates me. I love my wife. I love children. I want them to have the best possible lives. Anything I can do to advance that mission, I love doing it. I just need to know how, and we can get there from here.
Well, you're a wonderful person, and I totally appreciate you being here to start off the Healthy Schools Revolution. I hope that we have lots of change and lots of inspiration from you being here and our other guest speakers that are going to be here throughout the month of October. Please go visit, look up Disease Proof, go buy it. Is it on Amazon? I'm assuming Amazon and in the bookstores, the soft copy?
Exactly, all the usual places. So all sellers online, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and should be at a bookstore near you too.
Okay. Well, we will absolutely send out all the information for you parents and teachers to get the links to all of Dr. Katz's wonderful information. And Dr. Katz, have a great morning, and thanks for all your contributions.
Same to you, Carmen. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Have a great one.